Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. This time, the most toys. Yeah, the most toys. It's not the toys episode. They hate it when we talk about the toys. No, the most toys here on It's All Been Checked Before. Speaking of toys, go over to ibdpresents.com and check out some of the other stuff going on. You know, the IBD radio hour is still there. Some of the other classics, go back, check it out. Get caught up over there so you can get some of our references here. I mean, you'll get a lot of them, but you're digging deeper. Go over there, iabdpresents.com, the mothership. And now get into the most toys on It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Stephen.
And Keith. Too soon. Well, actually, no, just at the right time.
I hope you listened to last week's episode right before you listen to this week's, and then you'll get that.
For those of you who binge the episodes, you'll especially enjoy that.
If not, go download last week's and listen to it again.
Because you were listening to this episode too soon, apparently, if you didn't.
First impressions of the most toys.
Early on, I did not like it very much, but I kind of came around to think it was okay. Not too long ago, we had an episode, you're trapped in a room, by this person. And I thought that, but Saul Rubinek being the bad guy and it being more of he didn't have clearly godlike qualities, but to an extent, it was like, there's nothing you can do. I run Bartertown or whatever. I thought the episode got better, but I didn't start well for me. Not just because Data got exploded in a shuttle too soon. There were some good things along the way. So like I said, overall, I think I just thought it was okay.
We're still in first impressions, but you not dropped the name Saul Rubinek, so we should mention who he is real quick, and then Keith and I'll give ours. I know him best from Warehouse 13. He also starred in...
That's what it was.
He also is starring in Hunters on Amazon right now. He was in The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, True Romance back in the 90s. He has a ton of credits. He was been in a few episodes of Billions recently as well. Yeah,
he was on the last season of Schitt's Creek.
He played Louis B. Mayer in The Last Tycoon in 2017. Yeah, he's been in tons and tons of stuff. And
great character.
And I like him. Tippy Bernstein was his Schitt's Creek character.
Yeah.
I loved him so much in Warehouse 13.
Yeah, I actually liked him in this episode, but I will give my first impression is I didn't care all that much for this episode.
Wow.
I do like him. Yeah, it kind of bored me, a lot of it. Be honest. Keith?
Well, I probably liked it more than both of you, but that's probably par for the course in most cases. If I pull back and kind of try to compare it to like the rest of the season, I couldn't justify like putting this really high up necessarily.
It's been such a strong season. I think this is going to land in the bottom 3 or 4 easily.
But I enjoyed his performance in it. I mean, he made me laugh on a number of occasions. There's just the delivery. I think that saved a lot of it. But
the way he carried himself, it's not surprising he's had such a successful career. Fajo was his name. There's only 2 other guest stars. Let's mention them real quick. Jane Daly played his aide, assistant, whatever, Varia. She's best known for Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, 1972. No idea what that was. And I don't recognize any of what her top things she's best known for. She did do a couple episodes of The Rookie last year, so she's still acting, still active. She was in an episode of Grey's Anatomy a couple of years ago, episode of This Is Us, but it doesn't look like she's had any like big standout roles. And then the other one, his buddy, Toph, was played by Nehemiah Person, who's best known for playing or voicing Papa Moskowitz in An American Tale.
Oh, wow.
He was also in Twins, Some Like It Hot. He's got over 200 IMDb credits. He's much more well-known. The shuttlecraft that we see Data get into at the beginning of the episode, did you catch the name?
Pike.
Steven's nodding. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Named for famous young adult horror writer Christopher Pike.
I do think Pike deserves more than a micro shuttle, but I don't care. I
agree with you. Yeah. I liked at the back of the micro shuttle, they had special compartments that exactly fit the boxes they were loading into it. And it looked like they had a lot of padding, and obviously you had to be careful with this material. So my assumption is they replicated something with a giant replicator, because they've got big cargo replicators that perfectly packaged this thing. And I thought that was really cool and interesting and futuristic.
I'm glad you went there. I was about to like bring up, because it sounded like you were starting off like saying it like strained credibility that they had that, but no,
not at all. Yeah. That was a plus.
The operative word there being had, because they don't have it anymore. Which I guess goes to the point that the next Pike might be more than a micro shuttle. Too soon. Too soon.
I mean, whenever I see Pike, nothing's micro about it.
Since you bring it up, not that, but Pike in general.
We're right on the borderline of losing our non-explicit rating.
I didn't say any dirty
No,
words. I just said
I-
Mike gives me a boner. That's all I said.
Sorry, Keith. Go. You were saying so. You had
I
something very erudite. You were going to say.
How famous was Pike? I mean, how long had he been in the Enterprise? Was he that? How notable was he like within this show itself?
So
I guess, within its world?
he did 2 5-year missions on the Enterprise before Kirk, and then was promoted to a fleet admiral. Had that very tragic accident that he was hailed and considered a hero for saving those people that ended him in that wheelchair. So he was extremely notable, well respected. His tenure on the Enterprise, I think, is why the Enterprise was the flagship by the time Kirk got a hold of it. So
okay,
I'm really excited for the Pike show that's coming next year that they're filming right now.
Keith, could you make that a yes or no question? Because
just
was he noteworthy?
Yes, he was. So the shuttle takes off, the micro shuttle. And before it takes off, though, we see them shock Data. Was anybody else disappointed that they didn't keep that a secret until after the opening credits? The Data was still alive.
That would have been a little better. Yeah. Oh, you're right. That would have been.
I mean,
God, I hadn't even thought about it that way. I feel
like we'd be complaining it was cliche if they did that, and yet at the same time, I think it was weaker by showing the kidnapping.
The one part I did like was them going through like the elements that make him up. Because I thought that was one good thing. It's like, oh, we got this covered. Here's what happened.
I still would have liked to have seen that after the credits instead of in the cold open.
I agree, and I thought it was definitely a good hook. It's like, oh crap, this is heavy.
Are you saying like they do like a little, not quite a jump cut, but they just here's him getting on the shuttle, here's the shuttle leaving, and then they do like a little flashback? I don't know. It's
flashback after the credits, or they probably wouldn't do a flashback in this era with this show. So what I would expect later is let the shuttle explode. We all think Data's dead. Opening credits, even though we don't really think Data's dead because that would have been big public news. And then come back from commercial and Fajo's explaining what they did to Data. Like, oh, you don't remember? We knocked you out and then we did this and then we did that.
Okay, maybe.
I just think missed opportunity.
No, it would fit there. It was the same. It's him waking up and going, "Where am I?" So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So when the shuttle explodes, Worf is the one that utters the word Data, which to me seemed a little off. Like of all the crewmen, I don't feel like Worf was the closest to him and would have been the one that uttered his name with shock and horror and grief. I feel like it would have been somebody else.
I guess for the point of the episode to, call forward to that conversation he's going to have with Troy, it made some sense. But
I loved the Worf story once it got going. I just thought in this scene it didn't fit.
Right.
Yeah. I think he probably figured he was the only one who remembered that Data was the person over there. That was his perception. In case none of you guys remember, Data was on the shuttle, not just some random ensign. Oh wait, what?
Maybe he was the only one that didn't care, like that he didn't care as much, so he was able to get a word out. The rest of them were too shocked into silence.
With
Data,
or it's his job to
Data's position now. Maybe that he didn't finish his thought out loud. He kept it.
No,
you're overlooking the obvious. I mean, it was his job. He's at the security station. He see the reports come through. Data was on the shuttle. He has to read aloud to everybody. Data. Just
I think the writer of this episode, Sherry Goodharts, just had to give somebody the line and like, oh, Worf doesn't have anything to do in this scene.
That's totally a real name.
I was gonna. You beat me to it. Sherry Goodhart? Is this another pseudonym?
Sherry Goodharts is a multi-award nominated writer of film and television. She was the program director of Writers Lab in 2016-2017, taught a professional TV course at LaSalle College in Singapore. She is best known for writing this episode and 2 others for Next Gen. She gets 2 more story by credits that I haven't gotten to yet after this. She wrote a couple episodes of the Bonkers cartoon in the 90s, Aeon Flux, Dragonheart: A New Beginning. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a lot of stuff I know, but
I watched Aeon Flux, so
her name was Connie Lipschitz.
She wrote 1 episode of Aeon Flux, the show.
Oh wow!
That might be an only.
And directed by Timothy Bond, who directed 1 other episode of Next Gen. So These were our like C, D, E team, whatever. This wasn't our top people.
Wow.
I mean, somebody's got to be the backup team. Not everybody can be first stringers. So we finish the credits. We get to Data's captive room. I liked the swirly couch a lot, although it made me think maybe he's in the Twin Peaks Red Room.
I kept thinking for most of the episode, because I must have glanced away, that was the chair that he wanted him to sit on, that swirly couch. But
I could see that initially. I thought that's where he was going to want him to sit since he woke up on it, until he started saying, no, sit in this other chair. Which, it was funny because when we first saw the other chair, he was like, everything in this room is unique and one of a kind. And he's pointing at the art and all that stuff. And then he points at that chair. And I was like, that chair doesn't look especially unique. And then he's like, I want you to sit there. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it.
The way he kept insisting that he sit in that chair, I kept thinking, what is the deal with that chair? I mean,
that's our Seinfeld.
What is so special about this chair? It should be. Well, it's a chair that was specially made on Rigel 6 during the great
uprising.
Yeah.
I could have even bought, because it was just like the Roger Maris was the base.
Yes,
was
the baseball card that he still kept the bubblegum smell.
Yeah, the idea of him having something really random and mundane from Earth. That chair could have even been like a,
What
thing.
made that baseball card pop though is right before he got to the baseball card, he just casually threw away a Salvador Dali painting that was right behind it. The melting clocks.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I was like, no, forget the baseball card. Go back to Salvador Dali. I want to see the clocks.
I love the Roger Maris card and the whole bubblegum thing. Anyone who's ever had chewing gum from a pack of baseball cards knows you do not want to smell nor taste that. There's nothing good about that.
You don't like the smell of that?
It's only technically bubblegum. It's very,
I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when Data was in the room by himself and sniffing the bubblegum, I'm like, he really should leave that open and let all the smell out.
Pointedly.
I think he should have destroyed several objects in there.
There were some non-Earth things or things that weren't from our time or whatever.
The extinct creature. What did you think of that?
Oh yeah.
The thing about the creature for me, the most notable thing was just his interaction with it. And I wished, I even noted, I'm going to try really hard to remember the sound he was making, but I can't do it. I can't remember exactly. It was like something like that, and just like.
So I went deep into the wiki, the Memory Alpha wiki, and one of the things was, I guess that sound you were saying, Keith, I guess that became a thing on set that people would say to each other, like,
oh.
Whatever it was.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine doing. I know. For sure, that would have been like a cast thing.
It looked like one of the early Muppet Show or the Muppets on SNL kind of creatures, and I was completely okay with that. I thought it was kind of.
It felt kind of fake to me, but I kind of like the idea of having a creature in there.
Yeah.
The other note I had about that scene was when Fajo first talks to Data, he's talking loud and weird, and that just. I don't know. I mean, I get he dropped it pretty quickly, but still, I feel like you don't go, hello, I'm Fajo, you Data. Like, he went in with that attitude, and it just, if he thought he was getting a sophisticated android, he wouldn't act like that.
That is an interesting point. I thought it was comedically sound at first, but that could be one of those things. Was the actor kind of ad-libbing something, or do they really tell him to, like, you don't believe that this is so,
My guess is they told him, I like to believe Saul Rubinek's better than that.
Yeah, and I wrote down, he's awesome, and lots of times he plays a shady guy. Shady, let me enunciate that better, so to make sure we get on explicit. And so, and you know what? I feel like if he wasn't playing the part, I would have been even more like, don't care about this Fajo guy. But I really like Saul Rubinek, and he plays it he plays a good slime ball or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just to back up just a little bit, I mentioned Memory Alpha earlier. So the original guy, Saul Rubinek wasn't the original guy cast. Another guy was cast. They filmed some of it, and he attempted suicide that weekend. Yeah, it's a terrible story. So Rubinek, the director, who I think we already mentioned, was friends with Saul Rubinek, and Rubinek just he's like, hey man, can I check out the sets? So while he's there, the director's like, hey, would you want to be on a Star Trek show? And he was like, all right. Because he mostly does movies. He doesn't do TV. TV, quote unquote.
Back then.
TV.
Now he does TV.
Got the accent on the T.
He does HBO, but that's because it's not TV. But
Well, he did Sci-Fi, the Warehouse 13 on Sci-Fi.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So they switched actors. He came in, and that guy actually did end up killing himself 2 months later. So
Jesus.
Did he try to kill himself by sneaking into the shuttle before it blew up? And you can still see his body in the explosion. That wasn't funny. I'm
all right.
so
well,
sorry.
see, yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I was worried about mine was going to say that. So he had seclusive tendencies.
Oh.
But
don't worry.
that fits into the punk band thing too. Yeah.
Geordi and Wesley cleaning out Data's apartment. That was kind of a touching scene. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was bothering me because it's like, stop giving away his stuff. He's going to come back. But at the same time, from their perspective, I totally get why they went ahead and did it. I did think the painting of the blue swirls, I was like, is that a painting of Tasha Yar's vagina?
Oh.
And then we saw Tasha Yar in the colo cube.
Yeah.
So is that confirmation or not then? I don't know if that would actually... No.
I mean, Tasha Yar hung over this entire episode.
She was uncredited because it was just archive footage. Yeah. The only thing that I didn't like about that scene was how surprised they were to find the medals of Starfleet's highest honors. Mm-hmm. I buy that Data keeps it in a drawer, and I buy that he doesn't brag about it. What I don't buy is they didn't know that about him after serving with him for several years.
Right.
Especially because they're both engineers and would have read Data's file.
I think as Stephen was pointing out, though, they did mention Yar again later, which was interesting with the Worf conversation. But I want to go backward a bit because I realized we blew past something. Back when they first...
That's what Yar said. Or Yar did to Data.
Rubinek's character, Raj, what was it?
Fajo.
All right. So when
my favorite kind of soda also.
When he was playing along with him on the bridge, on the communication, like, gosh, I don't know. This is such a dangerous substance and so on. Troy was conveniently absent from the bridge. Would have been interesting. It would have been useful to have her there to, see that he was lying or not. But
oh yeah, that's a good point. I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, she is conveniently missing whenever somebody lies.
Yeah.
Well, because if she was there, then the episode would be over.
Yeah, sure.
She'll stand up, shout BS credits.
That's the 60-second version of this episode. I think we should see second next gen episodes for YouTube, and we just need to find a clip of her saying he's lying and insert it in lots of places in the episodes. That would be great. Somebody get on that and let us know. We'll promote the heck out of it. Picard and Riker were very quick to dismiss Geordi's argument about the debris being too perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I went back and forth on whether I thought that was a bad thing or not, because yeah, you should trust Geordi's hunches, but also it was his best friend and he died, and of course his hunches might be off right now. Yeah. So I kind of considered that scene a wash. I couldn't decide if I liked it or not.
I thought they really needed to stay and investigate that first instead of just like, well, we're moving on.
Well, they checked their sensor data and they got the other guy's sensor data.
Yeah,
they saw Data's components. What else do you need?
I would have sealed off that entire ship and begun the investigation.
I think that, yeah.
I don't know. I kind of feel like they had everything they needed to move on as it was.
I was gonna put in the terms of just the future time and Enterprise. First, they would probably these tragedies. They don't know they're in a TV show, so these tragedies would probably be more commonplace to them. And also, what was it? I had something else. Go on for a moment.
Here, this would be my only, well, not my only, but one of my arguments for staying would be, sure, if a Yar blows up, okay, whatever. Or gets destroyed, killed by some kind of weird...
tar monster.
Tar monster, thank you. But I feel like Data is not only... I feel like he's super valuable.
Yes. That was in my head, valuable property. We don't want to say it, but it is like...
But I still think it takes 30 seconds to look at the sensor log, see his components, and come to the conclusion he was dead.
Well, I don't trust, as you guys know, I do not trust sensor logs. I do not trust. I feel like they're capricious.
Well, Worf was the one looking at the sensor logs. So if you want to be a conspiracy theorist that he wanted to do his job, he could be like, "Oh no, he was definitely in there. I totally checked the sensor logs. Let's just go."
I think they needed at least like 50 more lawsuits about rechecking those sensor logs.
Well, just.
Keith,
no, wait. I remember the other thing I was going to say. They're in a more trusting time too. It seems unthinkable to them in most situations that the people they'd be interacting with would go to those lengths. And I kind of like how eventually they got to that extent too. It seemed like, why would he possibly do da. So
that's how Fajo and his group knew they were ripe for the picking. Was anyone looking in the front of the shuttle like, is anyone on there? Because I was just looking at the little window, and like, I don't see anybody.
Why did he have the window tinted? Data never tints the window.
Right. Well, why wouldn't they go back? Because they could go back and look and see him blow up.
Couldn't they?
Did
they have television technology?
Be recorded.
Do they have like the Pike videos to like have all the different camera angles?
Only on the Pike. That's why it's called the Pike.
I know we've talked about there should be more security cams in the future, but I feel like the view screen has to be like run like a security cam. It's got to be. You can recall it, so you can go back and be like, "Oh, there's nobody in there."
Oh God,
that is an excellent point. Let's look at Data's final moments to see if he made a wrong move or something. Yeah. That would be part of the investigation.
And if some people didn't have the stomach to look at it, well, maybe they shouldn't be on the Enterprise.
That's an interesting point. I mean, do you think they record everything automatically?
No, I don't, because it's an invasion of privacy.
I think for the most part they don't.
Well, no, I mean, not even for. I mean, I'm trying to think of like technology-wise what they would have to do for storage if the view screen were always recording, or if they even had it like right. So they did have it up on view screen when the explosion happened, right? I mean, they were looking at.
They were looking at the shuttle on the view screen when it exploded. But it was pretty far out there.
But yeah, Jimmy, I think I'm kind of coming back to your side on the lack of, I shouldn't say lack of investigation, but just the idea that if it wasn't Data, that still leaves me closer. But it's the thing that I think about constantly now when I watch Star Trek or The Mandalorian or anything. It's the thing Colleen said to me, but her thing about, well, these guys are doing dangerous things. People are going to die. And so that I think for that constantly is in my head. So now I'm just like, well, somebody's going to die, and they should. So now it brings me a little closer to where you're coming from, Jim.
It's military, it's commonplace. Things like this are going to happen eventually. And my point was they don't have like the concept of plot armor in their head. They're not going to think,
right.
That can't happen to Data. Come on, guys.
Right.
It can happen to Barclay, but not Data.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So Worf moves to Ops, second officer position, which makes sense. And that will be the career path he's kind of on for the rest of the time we know Worf. That he'll head towards command and moving up that ladder. But I love, especially on a show like this, in the era like this, where they don't do a lot of serial things, that Troy brings up that this is the second time Worf's been promoted due to the death of a crew person.
Yep.
That was what, if they had not connected those dots, I'd be screaming at them, you know? I know, Steven, Tasha Yar was the security chief in the first season.
Nicely done.
Fajo, man, what a con man. He just, when he's trying to convince Data to not hate him, and he immediately starts telling a sob story, and a tear rolls down his cheek. And then he's like,
I missed the tear.
I made that up. None of that's true.
Oh, that's great. I missed
it. It was amazing. It was just like instantaneous. It was impressive.
And I love that he didn't stretch it out because he knew immediately Data wasn't buying it or didn't care. So he was just like showing off, I guess, to him. And then I like this reverse psychology of, oh, I threw this thing on your shirt. I'd prefer you be naked, but if you want to wear this, but I'd prefer you be total reverse psychology.
It's just the shamelessness. It is him demonstrating how shameless he is. He does not care what Data thinks about him. Doesn't care. It's just, I think even his assistant said something like, he doesn't have those kinds of moral objections or something like that to things. Yeah.
No, if it was not Saul Rubinek, if it wasn't such a strong performance, I'd wonder about it, honestly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this episode's actually ranked 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. That's relatively high.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and back to the joke that I keep making about that you guys brought up before about the roguishness. She didn't have to say it. She said it anyway, and it still didn't take away from the fact that he had been showing that he doesn't have scruples.
Yeah. She says he can be lavish both ways, or essentially, I'm paraphrasing. So
yeah, something about the
did he disfigure her?
yeah. She was stroking her face. I remember
Oh,
thinking,
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah.
I remember that at the beginning, like when I first saw her, and I was like trying to figure out if what was on her face was like part of the alien characteristic, but everyone else seemed kind of smooth. I was like, all right, whatever. But then she brought it up and kind of did this, and even did like a little chin shot for everybody.
So she's like Dwight from The Walking Dead after Negan put the iron on his face.
Yes.
Yeah, or it made me think of, and this is close to this time because we're into 1990, I think here.
Yeah.
Batman movie the summer before, where the Joker and Jack Nicholson in that one, he disfigures the beautiful model Jerry Hall, and she ends up wearing a mask, but underneath part of her face is disfigured as well.
They really should have made that more obvious. I missed that entirely.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, that's one of the things I caught, and you guys have been like left and right pointing out things I was just not looking at or didn't quite hear or something. Just, I don't know.
So here's one thing that really bothered me. The first clue they had that something was up with Data's death, the first real clue, not Geordi's intuition, was Geordi was playing the audio clips. And the first 2 times Data said the exact same thing, and the third one was separate.
Love that.
And I'm like, no, I hated it. Because if they're trying to fake his death, what they have to go on are probably the audio from the first 2 times. Why would they just not play it again exactly?
I don't know. I don't think that's they wouldn't have been thinking of it that way. Why would they?
But they need to get audio from him from somewhere. Where else are they going to get it?
No, they weren't faking anything. They were just these were the logs that the Enterprise had, the communications they had.
Oh,
they gave them sensor logs for like things that they were recording, like just like the black box type information or whatever they were faking on like the contents of the shuttle.
So you're saying that Data just didn't finish the sentence because they took him out?
Yes, that's.
Yeah.
They came to the correct
I thought they
conclusion.
were faking a tape of him saying "I'm leaving."
No, they were just playing back the Enterprise logs. I loved that it was something that simplistic in the sense of this is the kind of troubleshooting you would use if you were a programmer. You put in like little statements that come up on the screen. You know, like when you have you're playing a video game and you have the loading screens and they say we're loading this, we're configuring this. Da, 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 da. Those are the things you would use to troubleshoot. Like this is the point where something went wrong. Developer can go back and go, this is exactly where things failed. And I love that they use that technique for Geordi in that.
Data giving the silent treatment to Fajo was pretty fun.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The moment where Picard slips and tells Worf to run the scans but calls him Data. Fajo is going to kill her, Varia, when he first threatens that. I don't know. I didn't think he would do it. I don't know. It just felt off to me. It didn't feel like she took him seriously. So therefore, it didn't feel like Data should take him seriously. And then the fact that he did it later, I don't know. I feel like he had less valuable assistants he could have killed.
Yeah. I thought he was going to kill one of the guys.
Yeah, somebody with no name. Varia is the one you save for last.
There's a couple things about that. That is an interesting point, though. One, he'd already damaged her face to give credibility to whatever threat he was making. And
she'd secretly betrayed him, just like Dwight in The Walking Dead, and we just didn't see that scene.
Well, that too, in a way. But I mean, I think Data, there was enough credibility there, unrelated, that Data could have gone off of, as we were supposed to as the audience as well. Sometimes they do that. I've had friends bring this up before about things they hate about villains. Joker and Batman is a great example.
Yeah.
When he kills Bob in that first Batman, it's just like, he didn't have to do that. It was just like, what? It seems so over the top irrational to make a point. You know?
I will say, and maybe this was an acting choice by Saul Rubinek, when he does eventually shoot her, he hesitates. And you can see it pains him a bit to do it. And I liked that moment.
I'm not sure if I got pain from that expression, but it was, I like the scene, and I almost want to watch it again because of that, just to decipher what's going on there.
He seemed reluctant to kill her.
Yeah.
No, the other way that I saw it was almost seemed sadistic. Like he wanted to see the fear play across her face. I think that was my impression of it at the time. This is going to make me feel really good. Boom, it did. Toss it away calculatedly, so Data doesn't have a reason to shoot him once he comes out to see that it's happened. He's like, I'm unarmed. You can't do anything.
For all the effort they went to kidnap Data, the sloppiness in the way they poison the water seems out of character as well. That
and killing the woman, like, how much is Data worth?
He's unique. I mean, he's one. I mean, as far as I think the problem is trying to get the mindset of like a collector of that level. I mean, it reminds me of some of the Marvel collectors and so on. And why is that worth that much to somebody monetarily or whatever else?
I'll tip my hand to my alternate episodes, or at least one of them, which was this episode was like Squire of Gothos plus Spock's brain. Because Squire of Gothos was a collector, and he was more of a godlike creature. Obviously, he was a Q, we think. And then Spock's brain was like, we got to have this guy's brain. In all the universe, this guy's brain's the brain we need. And that's kind of what Fajo was doing. Every time I say Fajo, I think I'm saying Fabio.
Can't we agree Fajo should have just got lore? That would have been easier.
Yeah.
They beamed Data back to rescue him. And I was glad they gave us the detail that Data's shot, because O'Brien said it went off in the transporter beam and he deactivated it. But then Data plays dumb, like he didn't shoot. That maybe something just triggered in the transporter. Do you think he shot or not?
No, he shot. And he didn't want to admit it to himself or to the other. It was, oh God.
He can't lie to himself. But no, I can see him not wanting to admit it to Riker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had to go back and watch it again to see exactly what happened there.
I wish he hadn't played dumb. I wish he would have just owned up to it.
Yeah. I think he shot. Do you guys think that the fact that Data talked her into helping him, I think in his mind led to her death? I mean, I guess I'm thinking Data thinks like a normal person, but I know he's on the
spectrum.
He's trying to get closer to that, even though we know he's not there.
So I don't think he was moved by an emotion to shoot him, but I do think at that point he knew he was trapped. He knew Fajo was not going to let him go, and even said, "You can't do anything about it." And I think Data at that point was prepared to kill him. Like, okay, this was a bad man. This is how I'm going to escape. I think he was prepared.
This opens up several doors for the discussion. It's just the way he put it. He said, "You're never going to stop doing this." I think and he demonstrated the idea that he was protecting other people from the future.
Yes. There's logic to that. Yeah.
But also the idea that he didn't admit that freely once he was there. He did one. I guess he wouldn't have seen the purpose in doing that. But there was that moment of consideration where I think he might have even been weighing like his self-image, his the way that other people are going to perceive him. What good is this going to do for them to know this? It doesn't.
All the paperwork he would have had to fill out.
Love it.
And he didn't succeed in killing him, so why?
Right.
But here's the other thing I was going to mention. Later on, he's having that discussion with Fajo. Fajo asks him the question, how does this make you feel? Do you feel pleasure in this? And there's that same kind of just like, I don't know if there's a pause or not, but he said, I'm just an android. I don't feel pleasure. But is it possible he was also deceiving Fajo in that as well? He's realizing, or we've seen him say so many times that the whole Pinocchio thing, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't feel these things. And then he demonstrates something that approximates that.
Right. And I've mentioned this before. It's an echo of TOS where Spock's like, well, I don't have emotion. And was like, yeah, you do, because you're half human.
Yep.
So there's
for Data, I think he genuinely does not have emotion, but I think he is trying to get himself to emulate emotion to the point where's the difference? It's like the singularity of when do you determine the computer is thinking for themselves or they're just fulfilling their programming?
One step further, I'm going to say that I don't think that human beings understand what emotion is exactly. There's that chicken and the egg thing. There's all kinds of observational things. It's what is a real emotion, really? So
it almost makes me wish we didn't eventually give Data an emotion chip. If we'd actually just continued this line of thinking instead of him like, okay, here's a chip, now I've got emotions, which they do down the line.
Yeah, that cheapens the whole thing.
It feels like a cheat. It feels like a cheat.
Yeah.
It's an easy way out.
It's almost like the Wizard of Oz thing and just giving Tin Man a heart and just saying,
like I said a couple weeks ago, Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have.
The one thing I have a complaint about that scene is that Fajo seems surprised that his collection was confiscated and being sent away. And it's like, dude, of course that's what happened. You're done. But, powerful people think they're untouchable. He could be in denial.
Well,
He
that's it.
becomes
No,
real.
that's it right there. I was going to say there's a certain kind of sociopathic thing to what he's been doing, and there's just
Thinks he
that kind
can
of
steal an election that he legitimately lost.
yes. There's that belief that there's not going to be accountability. There's that belief that you can do all these things, you're always going to get away with it in some way, and this can't happen, and it happens, and it's just complete collapse.
So I hope Donald Trump hears this in jail.
I thought his room, and maybe the rest of the ship looks like this. I thought there should have been more stuff in that room, but maybe the back of the ship looks like the last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark and has all the other stuff. Well, I guess
The Smithsonian, you only keep a few pieces out.
Yeah, I guess it's just like when I rewatched Citizen Kane, I realized, this is where they got Raiders of the Lost Ark's last scene. When they're going cataloging all of Kane's stuff. I'm like, so I guess that's probably what Fajo's.
Well, Fajo mentions having like 5 of this rare phaser, and we only see 1. So there's very likely more in storage.
Or there are probably other rooms. I mean, we just have one small room, and this is just true. Happening to be where he is. He's in warehouse 13. He's in the warehouse, and this whole oh my god. He's like
except his character in that show was really lovable and nice.
Well, and he's doing it for good, but it's kind of weird.
I want to go back to them beaming Data on. O'Brien deactivated the discharge. Is there anything transporters can't do?
Nope.
Bring Zahn back to life. What did you think about the choice to end this episode without seeing any of the crew happily welcome Data back or celebrate his return, which is how I feel like most Star Trek episodes would have ended?
I think I was okay with that.
I didn't catch that. That's a good point. I think, I was fine, but I understand that it would sort of cheapen a lot of things that had happened up to that point. But at the same time, it's sort of like we, the audience, never were in a position to buy into the fact that he was ever gone. So it would have been maybe a little bit too excessive or tedious to make us go through that process of, oh my God, you're,
honestly, I was just going to say it's smart writing that they felt it wasn't necessary and they decided not to do it.
I wish we'd had a shot
again.
I wish we'd had a shot of Worf just being like,
a part of a shot of Worf standing back at the station, sadly looking up where he could sit down for once on duty.
No, let's go back to the smart writing thing. I think we've seen episodes where they maybe try too hard, for lack of a better way of putting it, where they go with the idea of the audience buying into it somehow, or trying so hard to make us believe the crew has bought into the idea that this person is gone, and using it as almost like a cheap way to pull emotions. Let's do a eulogy here. Let's do this fake funeral. Let's, it fills time, and it kind of, what I'm saying.
They never even got to have a fake funeral for him.
Yeah.
No, I have a lot of issues with this episode. Like I said, I found it boring, but I think the way it chose to handle the death, and the way it chose not to give you what you were expecting at the end were smart choices.
Yeah, because I think you could do an entire episode on the reactions to it, but if you only got an hour and you're not gonna revisit it.
But I think a lot of writers, instead of having that scene with Data and Fajo, would have put a scene of him reunited with Geordi and Wesley.
I agree. Yeah.
I think it was a much smarter decision to do what they did.
Yeah.
Yep. Early on, I don't know if it's before or after the explosion, there's a weird shot of Picard right up by the view screen talking to Fajo. It was real cool. It was from I'm going to say stage right. It was shot from stage right towards them. I thought that was really cool. We get to hear Patrick Stewart read some Shakespeare, which is always going to be good.
Yep.
They say Data hasn't killed yet.
Did they say that?
Yeah, because I might have been Fajo who even said it. I was like, it was kind of that. It's kind of the Dark Knight thing where Joker's like, you're going to have to break your one rule. You're going to have to kill me. And or whatever, he's something like that. And he says something along those lines. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure if he hasn't directly killed, which I feel like we've seen him do it, he definitely has fired photon torpedoes or phasers that have killed somebody. And then you're standing behind, well, the drone did it. I didn't kill him. It's like, no, you did it.
No, my memory was
the phasers.
different.
Worf does.
Oh, then never mind.
No, I remember being different. I remember him trying to justify his own murderous ways to Data, saying, you have done similar things, and Data saying that I've been programmed to do those things under certain circumstances.
I mean, there was that time where he got really tired of Tasha following him around, then he went into the lava pits and pretended to be a tar monster, and he murdered her. But other than that, Tasha being the security chief from season 1, Steven.
Oh, okay.
For the
he
purpose
didn't really mean to kill her. He just threw her the wrong way.
for the purpose of the episode itself, the consistency and the arc, it seems likely they were going that way, that he never actually had to kill anybody, but was willing to do it and following through with what he was saying, that if I'm in a situation where I have to do it for a certain reason, I will do it.
If it's
yes,
I'm going to use the word logical. If it's logical or whatever.
Right. It was something along those lines.
So originally in the script, there was a part, and I thought they got close to it. Maybe Fajo was the one who kind of alluded to it, but originally there was a scene where Fajo sent, I think it's Verena, what's her name, in to test Data's sexual abilities.
Yes.
He mentioned they kind of roundabout got there, but not really the way this would have done it.
Well, are you saying that there was an actual alternate episode?
Yeah.
Or there
was a scene. I don't think they filmed it. I think it was in the original script.
Wow.
Where that happened. Yeah. And like I said, I think some of the things Fajo said alluded to Data's sexual abilities, but yeah. So I think they just dropped those in instead of doing that scene. And in that scene, I think Verena's like, you know what? I think she admits it, and that also forms that bond between the two of them. Also, although actually her testing his sexual abilities also would have cemented that bond.
Yeah, no, I mean that's another one of those kind of for the purpose of human viewers and then the audience, just the idea of
androids. We welcome Android listeners.
No, but my point being to the whole show not tell thing, so that people process it emotionally in a certain way. Oh my God, they've had sex, therefore they have that connection. Right. Therefore, he's going to be so broken up when she's dead, and I don't know. I kind of prefer the cerebral aspect of this in that sense, that they.
So, I mean, we probably think when Data and Tasha got together, he didn't stick around to cuddle. He was like, "I've performed my function. Bye."
Well, he was drunk with the virus.
I would think he'd try to emulate every part of the human romantic experience.
No, that's a good point too.
So he got up and left right away.
Oh my goodness.
And called her by the wrong name.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, if we didn't have more to do in the episode, that would have been a good place to end it right there.
I actually have a lot of notes left. I'm surprised.
Go for it.
All right. So when Geordi's talking to Wesley and he says, walking pile of circuitry and memory cells, I write down that quote. He said it like he's like quoting Wesley back to him. Like, you think this about him. He did did a really good job for this walking pile of circuitry memory cells, but it seemed a little odd to me. The comedic aspect of Data with the creature and trying to do the sound, so it was sort of like Big Hero 6, Baymax, like the trying to do the fist bump. So he was going to the creature. Data's term hucksterism, which I really loved when he was talking about the purpose for which Faj was using his lawyer abilities. Mm-hmm. So there was a couple of fashion things, which I'm surprised we didn't pick up on.
Yeah, I haven't done fashion. That was one of my remaining things.
Okay, so let's do that. The tailor, the nose ring, sort of. It was like the headband nose ring.
Yeah, that was so weird. His friend.
Yeah.
It looked like a ribbon that was like stiff and made out of metal. Yeah. It was cool.
But yeah, so Taylor had 3 nostrils.
Yes.
And it was going into one of them.
And he picked the middle one at one point.
Yeah, that was one of my notes. It was like, that was so cool looking, and that they did that. It was just sort of like out of focus too, but just the makeup on that was so cool.
Or if that was an actor choice, either way, it was great.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great thing. And so they almost had like those little there was like metal plates almost. It seemed like in the nostrils, as if you're when you're hooking up a stereo, you have the bare wires and that clip, the ports. That's what they looked like for some reason. So
the middle one was actually his ear. That's how it's
okay that way.
Yeah.
So what if I picked? No, it was a scratch. It was a scratch for pick.
It was a scratch.
It went in the hole. It went in the hole.
But to Jerry's point by the end. So what if it was that? Is it really that bad? Is it?
You think you're better than me?
Yeah. Majel doing the computer voice, I take it, right? For the editing, it sounded like she still they were leaving some breaths in, and she was like between the list. I could kind of hear it. So it's just like this and this. And so it's, for me, that's just a thing for me. If I were doing that, I would like take all the breaths out to be a computer. Mm-hmm. But I wonder.
Or maybe they wanted to sound more like a human.
Exactly. I was wondering that too, if in the future they would do that, if they would just leave all the breaths in to make him more comfortable.
Or the person that was editing the audio that day was lazy.
That too. There are all kinds of things like that. That scene where the assistant was diving for the disruptor, they did that little thing, that pause. They looked at each other like, oh God, he's going to do it. I need to go do this. The way they executed it, it seemed like she could have taken like a couple more steps before she just decided to dive for home plate or whatever.
Because she fell short. Yeah.
That's exactly what, that's actually the analogy I was going to use, Keith, was somebody, maybe not home plate, but sliding into second.
Yeah.
And they're definitely going to be out. So they end up sliding. And then the base is still a few feet away.
Like, it's just like, why? Yeah.
Those guys are always just kind of like, you got me, bro.
But I bought it in the heat of the moment.
But yeah, she had that "you got me, bro" look on her face too, which is perfect. It's just but 2 more steps or something, and then a dive, and it might have worked.
She should have either committed to the gun or running onto the shuttle or something else different, or just running away.
Yeah. But that was also weird.
We're victim blaming for sure here.
Right. But Data being on the shuttle and kind of just being completely distracted during all of that, the way they shot it, it just kind of like this all transpired. And then Data came out and was like, hey, what transpired? Yeah, I think the last thing was just the whole thing about Data being deceptive by omission when asked about the pistol firing. And just, I still think that led to the next scene. Is he lying about pleasure and just... Or is he mistaken or deceiving himself about the idea of being able to feel pleasure or satisfaction, even at the idea of this guy being ironically captive now?
Does Data feel satisfaction when he does something right?
I don't think so.
See, there have been things about the way that AI is implemented in different types of sci-fi where they suggest that the computer or the android or whatever feels discomfort or pain or something if they're not following protocol. Similarly, if they complete something, they feel some sense of satisfaction, or they're programmed to do that for simulating emotions even.
Alternate episodes. I get 2. What about you?
I have one other one, and in a way it kind of happened, and this is a movie I've alluded to a few episodes back. And if anyone saw The Five Bloods, they talk about this movie as well. First Blood. Well, actually, they reference the Rambo sequel, but I'm talking about First Blood, the first Rambo movie. I wanted Data to kill everybody in that entire place on his way out. Especially after the woman gets killed. I just wanted him to not only kill everyone,
berserk.
Just set that thing on to blow up and his shuttle goes away as that thing. Because
then he would kill an extinct animal. He can't do that.
Oh no!
It's next
animal in the shuttle. Animal in the shuttle with them.
Just like the end of
He's just like the animal's on the console with him in the terrarium, and he's just like
and the dolly painting.
He's and of course the Roger Maris card. They're all just like sitting in the shuttle with him. He's flying away calmly, looking at the screen as if nothing's going to happen. Explosion.
Now you guys have me thinking of another scene where he's like, "Well, I can't leave that." Oh, I can't. And he's got he's doing he's got 15 things he's got to take, but he doesn't have a cart to put them in.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure with the pet shop.
Animal House when they're throwing them all to Pinto at the grocery store. They're throwing all the groceries over there.
So one of my alternate episodes, Keith, you made me think if the Faggio did have to work in Warehouse 13, they could do the whole reformed criminal thing like we've done with White Collar and other shows where he has to be around all the precious things but can't steal them.
I liked that show, White Collar. I don't remember if I ever finished it or not.
Yeah, I liked it too. I did finish it. It was good. My other alternate episode, and this may be too soon, is Faggio. Instead of Faggio, they should have just cast Donald Trump to basically play himself. And he had all the gold things. Yep. And I feel like he would not have had enough of a sense of humor about himself to do it. And yet, also, we'd be really upset if Star Trek did that to us. But anyway, by now he's in jail.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. I mean, I hate to even seem like I'm defending him, but I feel like there was a point where we've seen him in like all kinds of movies and TV shows and little appearances like that, where he was playing himself. I feel like I remember like a commercial. They did a credit card commercial with him, like being bankrupt or something, and him playing himself, and it was like a humorous little take on it and the comeback and blah blah blah.
But if he was playing this role, you'd have to make it more villainous.
Now, yes. I guess what I'm saying is he would have had a bitter sense of humor about himself back then before things became this.
As long as he didn't think you were making fun of him, as long as he thought he was in on the joke.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Let's get to our rankings. Annoyance, Wesley, scale of 1 to 10.
I gave him a 1. Thought it was okay.
1.
Not a lot.
I think too is it was. I'm gonna go 1.5. There's just something, just a little bit of something in that interaction with the that belonged to blah blah blah, and it was just something stiff about it. Not the actor's fault, not anything his fault. It was there. So,
well, then 1. He will average a 1.2 for today. Who was your annoyance of the episode?
Faja. It's an easy one, but
yeah. I mean, that's the only feasible choice. So I enjoyed his performance, but obviously
I'm going to choose Faja's minions that saw them escaping and then did not think, oh, here's my opportunity. I'm going to escape with them.
That's a good one too.
Oh, that's good. That's like the guy who was on the floor and he said, maybe that guy, maybe I'll kill that guy right there.
Yeah.
You right there.
Yeah, then run at Faja and knock the gun out of his hand.
Yeah,
I'm just going to walk away now.
For a second. Yep.
That's who I'm choosing because I didn't find Faja annoying. I'm
picking that guy.
You're picking him?
Like what?
That's a good one.
Yeah. Why did you not hearing that, seeing what happened to the other assistant and going, you know what? This isn't a good. He's unarmed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What?
I thought that might lead to an uprising, but it did not.
Yes. Kind of think this could almost have been a Harry Mudd episode.
Yeah.
I think about it.
This guy, he's a more successful Harry Mudd, but not as funny.
I could have been Harry Mudd's grandson who.
There you go. That makes sense. Yeah.
Anybody want to change their crush?
The reason I got so deep into Memory Alpha is because I was trying to identify I'm going to call her an ensign that was talking to Troy. Somebody goes past Troy and she's like, I have to talk. I think it was Worf. I have to talk to him. And so the woman leaves, but I could not find that. So, and either way, I was probably going to stick with Ms. Zapgar, and I am sticking with Ms. Zapgar.
Ranking the episode, I kind of get the feeling we wanted to go towards the bottom, even though most of our things were positive.
It is one of those things, and I love doing this when Steven says at the beginning that he doesn't like something and trying to sway him as we go through it. But it's, as I said at the I don't know. It doesn't feel like
I think it's a lower top bottom episode.
I think it's less than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Since the season's been so strong, let's start towards the bottom. We can always go back up. We're going to start with the Ensigns of Command, which is another data-focused episode where we had to evacuate the people.
Oh, that feels good. Like it always feels like
we're in range.
Yeah, it always feels like that when we go. It's right there.
See, here's the thing. I kind of feel like I should have started lower now because I want to put this above that. Just thinking of that. But then I look a few episodes down and we've got the bonding, and I want to put this below the bonding. So.
This is what I was saying before. It's going to be like this, like all the way down when we get to the end, because it's some of the things are so arbitrary. Some of it is, the term we overuse, the recency bias.
I think Ensigns of Command is too high. I think it should have been lower. Now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, you're probably right, but it's just.
Let's look at the bonding first, then. Because that, I feel like, is a little fresher in our memories. Maybe just mine. I'd put it below the bonding, but...
What's below the bonding? That's just
the vengeance factor.
God, there's so much more going on in that.
Vengeance factor is number 2 from the end. The very bottom is evolution, the season premiere.
Honestly, I'm too in my head about this, and I started realizing that for a lot of episodes, especially like these, wherever we drop them, man, I could probably come up with the reason why they should be there or not. And it's just, I think the fact that I don't feel as strongly enough to defend this is probably an indication it belongs lower anyway. So
I started thinking about that too. I started thinking about what the things I like about this episode. Do I really like them that much compared? The bonding was a good example. I don't think we did love that episode, or at least I don't think I loved that episode, but there was some good stuff in it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I just edited that episode today, and we did like it.
Okay.
All right. There we go. I mean, Yeah, I think collectively we're usually suckers for the Klingon stuff when they really get into the meat of that, the culture and just.
We had ranked it 4th out of 5 at that point.
Okay.
But we didn't hate it by any means.
It's just that it wasn't strong enough to keep up with things going in and pushing it down. We weren't really revisiting it in the same way.
Which now, maybe we should go above Ensigns of Command then and start going up a little higher. Because if we thought this was lower, then maybe we're forgetting something. Okay. Should keep it. Ensigns of Command, where Data had to convince the people to evacuate. I think this is definitely stronger than that. I've changed my mind since Keith said he agreed with me. I changed my mind.
I was starting to go the other way.
Yeah.
Lower. If we did go above Ensigns of Command, what's the next one up?
Tin Man.
I definitely like that better.
Yeah, I would put this between Ensigns of Command and Tin Man. Keep those Data episodes clustered towards the bottom.
All right. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at the time I was all about it. I was like, I really did that. Yeah, it's just
above Tin Man is the Survivors, the Uxbridges, and I don't think this belongs above that. So where we have this right now is number 16 out of 22.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I think that'll work.
Yeah.
Next week, we talk Sarek. Legendary Federation Ambassador Sarek visits the Enterprise to conclude peace talks with a race called the Ligarians. His arrival is accompanied by a rash of unusual emotional outbursts among the crew.
So I think they should have just named it, "We are not going to try to surprise you at all." Guess who's here? Yeah.
There is a surprise because his wife was human, Amanda, and definitely was not still alive. So he's remarried in this episode. We have a new wife.
Well, now we're not surprised about that.
Sarek
and Prosper.
It is Mark Leonard playing Sarek, so that's really all I care about. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. He's great.
Okay, until then, live long.
Even if you're Fajo and Prosper.
And
Fajo did prosper. That was his problem.
He did. He's dead to me.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?